Nestling in the Charnadari hills are the magnificent rock-cut caves of Ellora. Hewn out of the mountain face, these awe-inspiring edifices have fascinated visitors from all over the world for centuries. Like Jerusalem, Ellora is one of the unique sites in the world which embodies the beautiful manifestations of three different faiths. These Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain monuments were excavated in different phases from the 6th to the 10th century AD. At the southernmost end of the site, 12 Buddhist caves were excavated during the reign of the Chalukyas. The first 9 of the caves are viharas or monasteries. Emphasizing self-discipline and meditation as the means of attaining Buddhahood, the bhikshus or monks resided in these caves.
Buddham saranam gacchami, sangham saranam.
The architecture of these caves is brilliantly conceived.
Dhammam saranam gacchami, Buddham saranam gacchami.
These viharas abound in numerous beautiful sculptures of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Shaktis carved in magnificent proportions.
Buddham saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami.
The most prominent of the Buddhist caves is Cave 10. It is popularly called the Vishwakarma, after the legendary architect of the gods. It is a chaitya, or a prayer hall, and marks the culmination of chaitya architecture in India. The cave has an impressive facade with a dominant chaitya window. Flying celestials and beautiful spiral designs show a sophisticated artistic style. The facade is profusely decorated with beautiful sculpted figures. The hall, with a magnificent ribbed ceiling, is conceived on a grand scale. The figure of the Divine Master, the Buddha, is sculpted serenely seated on a stupa. The last 2 Buddhist viharas, caves 11 and 12, are of an entirely different architectural conception. These are created on a grand scale and are vast structures of 3 floors. Both caves were made in the 8th century. Carved into the side walls of the halls are large Buddhas seated on thrones and flanked by attendants. These caves are entered through a spacious excavated courtyard approached by a passage cut through the front walls. There are spacious halls and impressive sculptures of the Buddha in these viharas. They mark the transition from the simple early Buddhist caves to the later Hindu cave temples at this site. Dominating the Ellora site with their sheer excellence and beauty are the Hindu caves. These form the major part of the rock-cut vista. The themes are drawn from Hindu mythology. They are mainly representations of numerous manifestations of the Hindu Trinity, the gods Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. The most beautiful of these is cave number 15. This grand cave is also known as the Dasavatara. It has a beautiful Sabha hall in its large courtyard. This cave was excavated during the reign of Danti Durga in the mid-8th century. It has many masterly sculptures which depict both grim and benign images most excellently. Virile and energetic figures, combined with compositions suggestive of dynamism and latent vigor, are a hallmark of this cave. Magnificently holding center stage at Ellora is the monolithic Kailash temple. This grandiose monument was built by Krishna I, the great Rashtrakuta ruler. In the words of Percy Brown, the temple of Kailash at Ellora is not only the most stupendous single work of art executed in India, but as an example of rock architecture, it is unrivaled in the world. It is believed that the entire mountain face was cut on all 4 sides to create an island of solid rock, and then sculpted from top to bottom. The grand plan of the Kailash temple resembles the famous Virupaksha temple at Pattadakal in Karnataka. The temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva. On the left of the ornately carved facade of the temple are depicted Dikpalas, or the guardians of the 8 directions, symbolically guarding Kailash, the abode of Shiva. On the right are sculpted huge figures of the incarnations of Lord Shiva and Vishnu. Flying celestials and ganas adorn the walls. At the entrance are the figures of Lord Ganesh and Goddess Lakshmi, seated on a lotus and flanked by elephants. Flanking the temple on each side are two huge manasthambas, which are symbolic of the supreme political power and the abundant resources of the Rashtrakuta kings. The rows of elephants, which are made supporting the towering temple, are unique examples of grandeur and sobriety. On the northern plinth of the temple are carved scenes from the Mahabharata. The sculptural panels are a reminder of the oral narrative tradition. Also depicted on the walls are scenes from Lord Krishna's life. The southern side of the temple depicts scenes from the Ramayana. In this panel, we see Ravan trying to shake Mount Kailash. Shiva effortlessly steadies the mountain with just the pressure of his toe. In the northern courtyard are elegant figures of the river goddess Ganga, flanked by Yamuna and Saraswati. Housed in the southern courtyard are elaborately carved figures of Yakshis and Saptamatrikas. On one of the walls is the emaciated and skeletal figure of Kala. In front of the main temple is the Nandi Mandap, which houses Nandi, the vehicle of Lord Shiva. All around the temple are shrines dedicated to various gods and goddesses. The walls are elegantly sculpted with celestial figures and couples. Originally, as in other Indian temples, the walls and sculptures were covered with plaster and painted upon. A sculpted gallery is hewn around the rear of the temple. It has tall reliefs of Shiva and Vishnu in their many manifestations. In the sanctum sanctorum of the temple is the ling, symbolic of Lord Shiva. Some colorful paintings still survive on the ceiling here. The main hall has 16 ornately carved pillars. To quote Percy Brown, the Kailash is an illustration of one of those rare occasions when minds, hearts, and hands meet in unison towards the consummation of a supreme ideal. Popularly known as the Rameshwar, Cave 21 has some of the most beautiful sculptures. Nandi in the courtyard looks into the peaceful interiors of this cave. To the side of the entrance is an exquisite statue of the river goddess Ganga. There are many interesting panels inside. One shows us Shiva and Parvati engaged in a game of dice. Parvati is annoyed, and it is a lively panel which depicts their animated expressions. Shiva asks for another chance. A dancing Shiva figure emanates dynamic energy. A delightful panel depicts the wedding of Shiva and Parvati. After arranging the marriage, Brahma is also seen performing the holy rites. Ravan shaking Mount Kailash and the serenely confident Lord Shiva. These caves, from 21 to 29, are the earliest Hindu caves at Ellora. They were excavated in the 6th century during the Kalachuri era. They are contemporary to the Elephanta caves off the coast of Mumbai. Cave 29, called the Dumarlena, belongs to this early period of the site. Architecturally, it is similar in style to the Elephanta caves. It provides a significant example in understanding the development from early cave architecture to the freestanding temples in Western India. The hall, with huge pillars, is ornately carved. Prominent among the sculptures is a massive Lord Shiva killing the demon Andhakasur. Ravan, attempting to shake Mount Kailash, is again seen here. Situated at the northern end of the site are the Jain caves. These were excavated between 800 and 1000 AD. They are similar in plan and style to the Buddhist and Hindu caves which preceded them. The Chota Kailash, or Cave 32, is an incomplete imitation of the Grand Kailash Temple, with its victory tower and elephants. It was excavated in the early 9th century during the reign of the Rashtrakuta kings. The cave is made in 2 stories. The first floor of the cave is richly sculpted. On both ends of the front veranda are made seated figures of Matanga and Siddhaika. The mandap of this monolithic complex has beautiful sculpted columns. These ornate columns have fluted shafts and capitals. They are richly decorated with garlands and exuberant foliage motifs. Cave 33, known as the Jagannath Sabha, is similar in many respects to Cave 32. The architecture is reminiscent of wooden structures. It has 3 halls with cells opening into a courtyard. The upper floor again has figures of Matanga and Siddhaika. It is gorgeously sculpted from the ceiling to the shrine. There are 12 beautiful pillars which are decorated with garlands. The firm standing figure of Parsvanatha, surrounded by adoring attendants and flying celestials. Cave 34, the last of the Jain caves, consists of 5 independent shrines. This cave has lively and graceful sculptures of Siddhaika, Matanga, Parsvanatha and Gomateshwara. The Archaeological Survey of India has been working diligently at this site.
The Manastambh or freestanding pillar of cave number 32 had fallen down due to the thunderbolt in the year 1840. After 125 years, these works of conservation had taken up at Ellora. This pillar was lying there into 5 to 6 pieces. All these pieces had fallen down into random sizes and shapes. We had taken tremendous care to see that these pieces are mounted one upon another, and also the character, that is matching color of these pieces with the ancient character of the monument, had also maintained by us. Subsequently, conservation works were carried in Kumar 10, 12, 16, 19, and 21.
Ellora marks the culmination of a sustained and splendid period of artistic endeavor in Western India from the 2nd century BC to the 10th century AD. The site remains unequaled for its unique and monumental monolithic rock-cut temples.